Welcome to episode 18 of Directed by Steven Spielberg. Today's film is an absolute classic and considered by many to be the definitive war film. That film is of course the 1998 war epic Saving Private Ryan, starring Tom Hanks in his first of 5 Spielberg films. This film, as incredible as it is actually a tough watch for some of its striking and graphic imagery. Nonetheless, I was excited to watch this film once again to dig into all the aspects of it that make it quintessentially Steven Spielbergian. Let's get started. Saving Private Ryan is a war drama set during World War II, beginning with the harrowing D-Day invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944. The film follows Captain John H. Miller, played by Tom Hanks, and his squad as they land on Omaha Beach in one of the most intense and realistic battle sequences ever depicted on screen. After surviving the brutal assault, Captain Miller is given a new mission to find and bring home Private James Francis Ryan, played by Matt Damon, a paratrooper whose 3 brothers have been killed in action. The US government, in a move to spare the Ryan family further grief, orders Miller and a small squad to locate Ryan, who is somewhere across the war-torn France. Miller's squad, comprised of diverse soldiers, each with their own personality and background, embarks on a dangerous journey through enemy territory. Along the way, they encounter various challenges, both external and internal, questioning the morality of risking multiple lives for the sake of one man. As the squad faces heavy losses, they eventually find Private Ryan, who is determined to stay and defend a strategically important bridge. Despite the squad's dwindling numbers, they assist Ryan in holding the bridge against the German assault. The film concludes with an emotional sacrifice as Miller dies in the battle, telling Ryan to earn this, a plea for Ryan to live a life worthy of the sacrifices made to save him. The movie ends with an older Ryan visiting Miller's grave, reflecting on whether he has lived up to that charge. The end. What an incredible film. There are simply not enough superlatives to describe Saving Private Ryan. There is so much to talk about, and there is obviously no better place to start than with the opening sequence. The D-Day Omaha Beach landing scene in Saving Private Ryan is easily the best and most realistic encapsulation of the horrors of war that we've seen in cinema. The first 30 minutes of the film are absolutely unrelenting as we follow our main character, Captain John Miller, making his way up the beach as hellfire rains down upon him and thousands of other troops. In classic Spielberg concealment fashion, the scene begins with a slow build-up as we watch the battalions of troops sail towards the shore. There's no clear sign of danger, but it's hinted at beautifully through Hiller's hand tremors, troops throwing up, and their terrified expressions. It builds the suspense for us as the audience, only to drop an absolute hammer the second the gates come down and they're met with the machine gun fire. From there, the carnage is unleashed and Spielberg pulls no punches in pulling us, the audience, right into the horror. He does this through first-person perspective shots that really make you feel the gunfire and explosions to a greater extent, as well as shaky cam in particular to highlight the intensity of the situation. Every possible thing a soldier could experience during war, Captain Hiller experiences on that beach in the first 30 minutes of the film, acting as our vehicle for it all. Seeing men being slaughtered, maimed, and injured all around him whilst his ears are ringing from the explosions. It's all designed to give us a 360 view into the horrors of war. We even gain insights into the personalities of some of the soldiers and how they cope under such pressures. An example of Spielberg's knack for efficient character development. The whole sequence is so unrelenting that you find yourself gasping for air at certain points in the battle, as it doesn't give you a second to breathe throughout the 30 minutes. The battle officially concludes with a zoom-in close-up of Hiller, identical to the zoom-in on old Ryan at the very beginning of the film. It's a meaningful use of the zoom-in close-up, as it pays off the setup of what old Ryan is staring at the beginning, the horrors of war. Moving on, the next scene is a reprieve from the action taking place at the United States Department of War, with the female typewriters writing letters to the family of the deceased. This scene is the catalyst for the film's plot, but something noticeably Spielbergian about it is the use of Spielberg lights. As you can see, the windows of the office are saturated with natural lights. This is a way of contrasting the more peaceful, safe surroundings at home in the USA against the bleak, cloudy lighting at Omaha. Then there's the scene that follows that is devoid of dialogue yet communicates all the meaning in the world. It uses a familiar Spielberg technique of showing two subjects at once through the use of the glass reflection. Once that car arrives at the door and the lady falls to the ground, the meaning is clear and is all the more powerful for not having said a word. The most interesting conversation of the film is also our main introduction to the characters' personalities and gets right to the film's central dilemma. Is one man's life worth that of many? It's fascinating to hear the varying opinions of the main characters, and you can't help but sympathize with their positions that are largely against risking their lives for one man. Beyond the intriguing discussion, what could be easily missed is the expert character development at play and how we're learning so much about each of the soldiers in the process. Captain Hiller is the stoic leader, Horvath is the fearless second in command, Reiben is the questioning rebel, Mellish is the comedic relief, Capazzo is the hardened yet compassionate soldier, Jackson is the loyal sniper, Wade the caring medic, and Upham the naive translator out of his depth. All of these characters beautifully combine to provide a comprehensively three-dimensional view of the mission and the war in general. Despite Hiller being the main character and Ryan's name in the title, as the story progresses, it becomes clear that the character that goes on the greatest journey is Upham. He starts off as a timid burden on the battalion but grows to become a courageous fighter by film's end through his various mistakes. After all, it's his actions that single-handedly lead to the demise of several of the soldiers. Spielberg brilliantly shows how great qualities like compassion and kindness are completely taken advantage of when it comes to war. But as the audience, we are hard-pressed to hold any ill will towards his decisions, as many of us would make similar decisions if in his shoes. The third act is another incredible battle sequence, this time in the ruined town of Rommel. It's there that the battalion finds Ryan, who refuses to leave in favor of staying and fighting with his fellow soldiers. They hatch a plan to defend the town, outnumbered by a much larger German force. It's in this battle that most of our main group meet their demise, including our main character, Captain Hiller. And it's in his death that the payoff of the film's central dilemma is essentially answered. With Private Ryan standing over him, Hiller pulls him in and whispers his dying breath.
Earn this. Earn it.
It is such a powerful yet heartbreaking payoff, one that old Ryan still questions 50 years later. I say heartbreaking because the truth is there is no simple answer to such a complex question. Mathematically, multiple men's lives are worth more than one, although philosophically and perhaps religiously, no man should be left behind. It's an endless debate that Saving Private Ryan answers satisfyingly enough with two words: earn it. So simple, yet so effective. The entire cast of Saving Private Ryan are exceptional throughout, starting at the top with Tom Hanks in the lead role. He brings so much gravitas to the role in his stoic defiance against such horror, yet is utterly compelling in those brief moments of weakness when his PTSD gets the better of him. Saving Private Ryan is an interesting entry within the context of Spielberg's career. Looking back on what he had made to this point, as well as looking forward at what was to come, you could say that this film is quite possibly the peak of his career and he would never quite reach these lofty heights again. Don't get me wrong, there are still many incredible films to come, but none of them stand out as being as impressive or impactful as Saving Private Ryan. Overall, Saving Private Ryan is the definitive war film and remains the standard to this day for capturing the true horrors of war. It is as much a directing masterpiece as it is an unflinching exploration into the themes of brotherhood, courage, patriotism, and sacrifice, and what it truly means to die for your fellow man. The resounding message of the film is that it is our duty to fight for our countrymen just as much as it is our duty to uphold the freedoms that these brave men died for so that we could live life to the fullest. Earn it. What an incredible film. Saving Private Ryan still stands out as one of the best, if not the best, war films to this day. The opening scene alone seals that reputation. As for the score, I'm going to give Saving Private Ryan a 9.5 out of 10, equaling E.T.'s score. I'd say I'm slightly more partial towards E.T., and therefore I'm going to place Saving Private Ryan in third place just below. And that concludes episode 18 of Directed by Steven Spielberg, and also concludes the 90s portion of Spielberg's career. I would say that while some of his 90s films reach his greatest heights, I would say overall it's more of a mixed bag compared to the 80s films, which are much more consistently great. That being said, finishing the 90s era of Spielberg's career does really feel like the best is behind us, even though there are still many great films to come. For the next episode in this series is a return to the sci-fi genre for Spielberg, the first that he had done in a long time since pretty much E.T. And that film is AI Artificial Intelligence, a film I vaguely remember, but I'm looking forward to watching for the first time properly. That should be another great one, but until then, I thank you all very much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.